black helicopter crowd notion.
Tyranny's always lurking just around the corner.
They've been crazy, but now they're right.
Black helicopter crowd really is upset.
The people are stupid and they're drugged. There'll be a revolution and they're going to lose. There are too many guns and too many people ready to fight them. I am a man of peace, but we have gangsters running this country. Criminals, gangsters.
We're normal. We see total criminal takeover, the death of freedom.
It is the most corrupt, degenerate, criminal government in American history. I'm trying to awaken people, but look at the morons around you. They're zombies.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, President of Armageddon Records N1, and we got a great show for you today. We'll be talking about ghosts. But first, ladies and gentlemen, also working on new stuff to expand the podcast in the YouTube territory. I think we can do it. Condense parts of the show and include visuals. That's still in the works, so don't expect it immediately. I'm doing an internship now, like I previously mentioned. I survived week 1. Congratulations to me. 14 more to go. It really is a good experience, and it's helping me grow. I'm a truth seeker, and I live my life in service of others. I want to be a being of light and love and inspire humanity. I want to be kind and silly. And, nothing else can bring me happiness but myself. Only meditation. Only transcendental yoga. Yeah, life's good. I'm doing bad financially. I'm trying to figure out how to do the pod, how to pay those people. They want money, at least $10 a month. I'm interning full time and only, I'm just saying. Anyway, I'm hoping to bundle Philosopher's Stone EP, which sales didn't meet the expectations I was hoping. So if I can bundle that with Rorschach Test and sell both EPs and promote it doing open mics, and if I can book shows, I could probably sell also doing that. So I'm hoping to expand the music. I'm also looking for guests, if you're interesting or want to talk about something, if you're talkative, want to get on a pod, talk about, any subjects that range between paranormal, supernatural, conspiracy, political commentary, media analysis, intellectual curiosity. That's what we're about. Questioning reality and having a good time. So, if that's you, hit me up at blackhelicopternews@gmail.com. And make sure you check us out on Facebook. We need page likes on Black Helicopter News on Facebook. We've got a great companion page to the podcast. A lot of the topics we talk about actually come from there specifically. We have pinned to the top of the page a multi-track player that will give you access to every episode of the podcast that's hosted on Podomatic.com. As well, I will be posting articles, many interesting, strange articles from around the web, and it's one of the best pages out there on this topics. We'll be talking about everything from the Nazca lines to articles about Hollow Earth to about Big Pharma. So check that out, Black Helicopter News on Facebook.com. Okay, finally, I want to mention, I think the show's growing and doing good because it seems we're making enemies. For starters, 2 former guests have thanked me by either cursing at me repeatedly, as if that's not a prime example of a conversational non-starter, and yet another guest from another previous episode unfollowed us. I can tell because we're on the same podcast network, but it's a shame. He's a cocky young son of a shit. Anyway, coming up next, we'll be talking about ghosts. Next up, on locklip.com, taxi driver, a ghost passenger. Apparently, some taxi drivers in Japan are claiming to have picked up ghost passengers in the aftermath of the tsunami that devastated the nation in March 2011. As many as 7 of the 100 drivers interviewed by Yuka Kudo, a student of sociology at Tohoku, admitted having encountered phantom fares. Kudo conducted the interviews as part of her graduation thesis, traveling to the coastal town of Ishinomaki every week for a year to speak to taxi drivers waiting for customers. She asked them the same question. Did you have any unusual experiences after the disaster? Many of them ignored her. Some got mad. Some got enraged. But 7 drivers agreed to describe their strange encounters. One driver spoke about a particularly unsettling story. In the summer of 2011, a woman dressed in a coat climbed into his taxi near Ishinomaki Station. She said, "Please go to Miyamihama Station. When he pointed out that there was nothing left standing in the district, she asked him in a shivering voice, "Have I died?" The driver immediately turned around only to find the back seat empty. That's chilling, folks. Another driver recalled how a young man who looked to be in his 20s got in a taxi. When a driver looked in the rearview mirror for directions, the man kept pointing towards the front. The driver asked for a destination, to which he replied, Hayoriyama, which means mountain. When the taxi reached the area, the man disappeared from the taxi. It's easy to dismiss these stories as hallucinations or imaginations, but the driver's logs are proof that they really may have occurred. When these ghosts got into the cabs, the drivers started their meter, which is recorded. So even though these passengers disappeared during the ride, they were still counted as clients. The drivers then had to pay their fares out of their own pockets. Some of the drivers even wrote down their experience in their logs. All these phantom travelers were described to be young, which compels Kudo to believe that they were indeed victims of the 2011 tsunami tidal wave. Young people feel strongly chagrined at their deaths when they cannot meet people they love, she said. And as they want to convey their bitterness, they may have chosen taxis, which are like private rooms, as a medium to do so. Interestingly, none of the drivers reported feeling any fear, instead holding their special passengers in reverence, having lost loved ones in the disasters themselves. They perceived the encounters as a spiritual experience meant to be remembered and cherished forever. "It's not strange to see a ghost here," a driver said. "If I encounter a ghost again, I will accept it as my passenger." "And I would too, sir. And I certainly would too. Any ghosts that need a ride, you just stick your thumbs out at the side of the road as late as you want, and if I'm out there, sure, I'll pick you up. No problem." Alrighty. Kudo herself was moved by the interviews. She said, "I learned that the death of each victim carries importance, and she wants to convey that to other people." According to official records, over 15,000 people died during the magnitude 9 earthquake that lasted 6 minutes and triggered 133-foot-high tidal waves that swept 6 miles inland. Numerous sightings of ghosts and spectral figures have been reported in residential districts in the affected areas in the aftermath of the disaster. So this only makes sense, folks. I don't know about you, but I totally believe this.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Government should be afraid of their people. Our government was responsible for the deaths of almost 100,000 people. Do you really want to know?
Members have been murdered, Chief Inspector.
We're interrupting your regularly scheduled program to bring you this terrifying report.
It was almost as if it were a planned implosion. It just pancaked.
Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
New York, very much a city still in chaos. The phones are not working properly. The subway lines are not working properly.
The sky now black with smoke in front of us, just across the Tigris River here. This is shock and awe, Tom, to the population of Baghdad. Shock and awe, indeed.
The people you liberate will witness the honorable and decent spirit of the American military.
Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
Come on.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
I love my dad. I'd kill for him. I'd go to prison for him because I love him so much.
I love Bill Clinton.
What does that make Hillary Clinton to the Bush family?
My sister-in-law.
When you are subverting the power of government, that's a fundamentally dangerous thing to democracy.
What do you think of Edward Snowden?
I think he's a traitor.
Obama is the one that kills the U.S. troops if the Russians bomb any of them. Obama is the one that put them in harm's way. Obama is the one using them as human shields.
It is the most corrupt, degenerate, criminal government in American history.
I'm here to warn people. You keep telling me to shut up. This isn't a game.
Welcome to America.
ISIS. This is what we do. Woo! We got people that have taken your asses out in this building right now. We're armed to the teeth, and we're not scared. You got that, you sons of bitches?
In 2012, your agency was saying, quote, the Salafists, the Muslim Brotherhood, and Al-Qaeda in Iraq are the major forces driving the insurgents in Syria. In 2012, the US was helping coordinate arms transfers to those same groups. Why did you not stop that?
Why didn't you come forward before? What were you waiting for? Well, for you, Inspector. I needed you.
I suddenly had this feeling that everything was connected. We're all part of it. Are we ready for it?
And we're back. You're listening to Black Helicopter News. I'm your host, President Zen1, and next up we've got on ParanormalNews.com at the borderlands of life and death, haunted hospitals and healthcare facilities. When we consider what's taken place behind closed doors of hospitals since the very beginning of the medical profession, it should come as no surprise to find out that a lot of them should turn out to be haunted. The average hospital happens to be a microcosm of the very best and worst extremes of human experience, providing the perfect stage for the high drama which occurs in even the most stable life at some point in time. Love, hate, fear, anger, excitement, relief, heartbreak, depression, anxiety, all these and so many more emotions are played out against the backdrop of a house of healing. Human beings enter the world in a labor and delivery departments, often kicking and screaming, born in blood, delivered into the stable hands of doctors and nurses wearing masks. Others are rushed here at high speed by EMS, their bodies broken, bleeding, some are shot, stabbed, brutalized by this uncaring world. And there are people out there that do their best to keep them alive as best they can while the lights flash and the sirens go. But entrusting their care to the highly skilled trauma teams who do their best to save. And finally, hospitals are where so many breathe their last breath, surrounded by family, friends, caregivers. A hospital bed is often the place in which the final scenes of human life's played out. The last lines of that particular book are written before the cover's closed and the person moves on to whatever chapter comes next. Life, death, the entire spectrum of human experience lies between those two endpoints, and that's just another day in the life of a hospital facility. Many people believe that ghosts pop up in places where death's taken place, and there's a lot of evidence to support that particular contention. It's also fair to say that some spirits return to places where they were emotionally invested to in their lives, especially where they experience great happiness or sadness. Considering the numerous cases of ghostly nurses and doctors still making their rounds decades after, even centuries after passing away, or the patients that linger after their deaths walking the halls, the rooms of the hospitals where they stayed. Now in Utah, an abandoned former hospital, I recently had the good fortune to investigate an abandoned former hospital in Utah, where amongst many ghosts, I learned out the rooms are haunted by the ghost of a former patient. The tragic soul suffered from the cruel and debilitating disease known as Alzheimer's. It took his dignity and personality away, and according to the owners of the hospital, which is now a haunted house, the spirit of this kind old man returns a lot to the room in which he spent his final days on, interacting with staff and paranormal investigators on occasion. And those who encounter him say he appears to be prone to sudden and unpredictable emotional swings, and that characterized his behavior in life, if it's true. What that might say about the survival of consciousness after death is possible. We may take some of our diseased processes and learned behaviors with us. Most psychic mediums state emphatically that this is not the case, but who can say for sure until we find out for ourselves? Wandering the long abandoned hallways and patient care rooms of a massive sanitarium, just last week I was struck by the sense of sheer melancholy which pervaded every single brick of the place. Tens of thousands of people died in that particular hospital over the years, and it served as a fortress on the front lines of America's war against tuberculosis. So great was the rate of patient loss that a body chute was used to transport the bodies of the newly deceased in a discreet manner, affording them a little additional dignity in death, at the same time helping reduce the drop in morale experienced by those remaining patients who would otherwise be spectators to the seemingly endless parade of body bags passing them by. With death and suffering taking place on such a monumental, grand scale, it's no wonder that some trace, some essence of it has remained down through the years, imprinted on the structure of the hospital itself. No wonder then that such a place should be the scene of phantom footsteps, disembodied voices, mysterious shadow figures, and a host of other paranormal phenomena reported by scores of reliable witnesses. It's not just the hospital facilities that are prone to being haunted. We gotta take into account those that deal primarily with the human brain. It's that mental health care institutions or madhouses or asylums that have the most ghosts. Patients are often locked up in places for years on end, decades, in conditions that bordered on inhumane. Frontal lobe lobotomies with ice picks and hammers were commonplace. Horrific symptoms, misguided quests to restore sanity to those judged insane. Hauntings of these mental institutions tend to be very disturbing in nature and a reflection of the torment endured. Poor souls incarcerated on the flimsiest pretext. If a husband wanted an easy divorce, it was acceptable to have his wife declared insane and have her carted off quickly and conveniently to the closest institution, never again to see the freedom of the world again. This misery leaves behind a permanent mark on the fabric of reality and its environment, and it is experienced repeatedly, and those that have their psychic powers developed can see that firsthand. So of course there are ghosts.